Now we've covered how to apply style sheets in different ways. Now let's move on to using fonts. Adding font types to our websites are really important to define the look and feel. If we take a look at here, I'm over on the W3 Schools website in a section called CSS font. If we take a look here, there is two main font types, one called serif and one called sans serif. The sans serif fonts on the left are much simpler and have straighter square edges. Serif fonts on the other hand have these extra detail on the edge, which you can see highlighted in red just here. A little bit further down we can see there are two types of font families. On the left of the table we see we have serif, we have sans serif and also monospace. These are all examples of a generic font family. Each one of these generic groups also has many font families too. Here we see at the top we have Times New Roman and Georgia, and these are both types of the serif family. Then below we have Arial and Verdana, which are font families with a type of sans serif. We generally want to add both a font family to our CSS along with a generic family such as sans serif, which acts as a fallback if our first choice is not supported by the browser. To avoid fonts which are not commonly supported, we can use what is called web-safe fonts. I'm just going to go over to Google and do a quick search for these web-safe fonts. And let's go onto the W3 Schools website just here. So we have the serif versions, and scrolling further down we have the sans serif fonts too. So this has a list of common font combinations which are widely supported. Most have a stack of 3 fonts, like you can see here. We have our first choice, as an example we have Arial, our second choice of Helvetica, and this is used if the first one of Arial is unsupported. Then at the end we have a generic font family, such as sans or sans serif. This is used if none of the others are available or supported. Some of the font family names here with spaces between are surrounded in quotes, just like you can see here. This is recommended but not required. So I'm going to go ahead and copy one of these font stacks. So let's say Comic Sans. Let's copy this section off the website. Then let's head back to our styles.css file and we can add a font family to our project. So let's close the sidebar and open up the styles.css. We can add this to the body since all the HTML content is inside of our body tags. So let's go down to the body and add our font family. And then we can paste in our 3 values which we just copied before with a semicolon at the end. Save that. And then back over to the project in the browser and then refresh. And you can see all the font type has changed to be this comic version. Another way to include fonts is to include a font library such as Google Fonts. So let's do a search for Google Fonts. And the one we need is fonts.google.com. So let's open this up. We can see right away there is lots of different fonts to choose from. We can either filter down on the right hand side by the different types, such as serif or sans serif. You can even look through and choose one of these ones on the home screen if you prefer. I'm going to do a search and choose a one called Barlow. So add that in the search bar, and this is the one I'm going to use on the left hand side. If we want to add this, we just click on the plus symbol here. Then we can go down to the bottom and expand this selected family. This is how we get the instructions on how to add this to our project. First of all, at the top we have a link, which is just like the link we used on our own style sheet, but this time it links to a style sheet Google has provided. So let's copy this link, go over to the project, and in the index.html. We can add this just below our title. This link also needs to be added to other HTML pages too. So let's add it to the product detail, just below the title, and also to the contact us page. Make sure we save them. The placement of this file is important too. We should have our own custom CSS file last. This ensures any changes we make as a custom style is loaded last and will override any of the defaults. We'll look at this in more detail later on though. But back to Google Fonts for now. Next we need to go down and copy the font family. So copy this line of the CSS and then back over to our styles.css. And rather than this section which we added in before, we can paste in our new Barlow version and give that a save. Back over to the project and then refresh. Now all fonts have taken effect on the page and we should see them being consistent through all our different pages. Although these fonts visibly look different, we can confirm these are working by going to the developer tools. So right click and inspect. And then over on the right hand side under the body, we can see Barlow, which we've chosen. If we uncheck this, we can see a change with the font family on the screen as it goes back to the default. So we can clearly see that these Google fonts are now working. I will now see you in the next video where we'll take a look at classes and IDs.